Okay, I've managed to pull myself out of the depths of rapture, and I'm not even kidding when I say that. Because although I went away at the weekend to a party, my evening, well, not Saturday evening because I got back late, but I spent Friday evening and last night just finishing these, and really they're not even finished. I've buttonhole edged them. I've got my inserts here, like I talked about the other day, in that one and in this one. I could embellish this forever, and this class would go on for 6 years, because I never know when to put down. But for the purposes of this class, I'm going to stop them now, and they're going to become a sample, because I just want to demonstrate to you how I would approach the joining of these. Because what I was thinking this morning, have I been clear enough? And I think I have, but I ask myself these questions all the time, to try and keep myself alert to what's happening. This class, the purpose of this class was to teach you how to create unique surfaces using lace, paper, cloth and stitch. We've covered that, I think, and then some. So really, I could say on Wednesday when we finish, right, bye-bye, that's it. Go away and do what you want with it, you know, make a floor rag to wash your kitchen floor, or, you know, basically what you do with this is up to you. I'm just sharing the knowledge with you of different ways I would approach using this, but it's not exhaustive. I might go up in a few weeks with something else that won't be included in this, but I'm just hoping I've given you enough of a grounding in creating unusual surfaces so that you can transform these and to fit your own work. So, but having said that, we're supposed to finish on Wednesday. You're probably going to get this on Tuesday. I've got another surface to create with you that was built in. I've decided I want to show you how to make what I call lace cloth, which is different from snippet cloth. And then there's something else I want to show you that is purely a paper-based exercise, but which I think, and this is the reason I've clarified what this is about, a paper-based exercise that you could use to extend a piece of the lace work. Okay, so I've still got 1, 2, 3 surfaces to show you and just a couple of ideas. So hopefully after this video there'll be another video that I haven't made yet on how to create the next surface, which will be the 4th surface, I think, and that'll be this post. And then we're always supposed to finish on Wednesday, but we're not, and this always happens with me. I always go over because I get carried away and I get excited, and I just love this so much. It's a passion. All my classes I'm passionate about. So we're going to go on to the weekend, and I'm going to show you another surface that's paper based, and then just go through with you what I would do with that. Okay, an idea I've had for extending the lace work with this paper based technique that wouldn't give you a more set, definite piece of art to frame or to put on your wall or something. Right, so I've got this with me just in case I need it for reference. Don't need any excuse to get this down and just have it in my hand. I actually left that at that, thinking it was a working sample. This is the first one we did, and I wasn't going to do anything else to that, but I'm going to actually try and do a bit more on here to extend the paper area before I do the next process, the paper based process, so that I can use this to illustrate how I would extend this and the paper based process by using them both together. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so and I've got this here just as a reference. I've got this here. I've already joined a piece of this to snippet cloth. Okay, so that was just here to remind me, but I've got these 2 pieces. I may only join one of them to snippet cloth today, but I'll show you how I would do that. But then again, you might get a better sense if I join both of them to snippet cloth. That would mean that would probably grow quite a bit. And then I've got these absolutely I've died and gone to heaven pieces of lace samples that I'm going to join together, and I've got some beautiful lace here that was gifted to me, and I'm so happy that it was from somebody in this group, and you know who you are, and thank you very much. I adore this lace almost as much as I adore you. So that's going to come in here for this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is the snippet cloth one, so I'll put that over there. Right, So, get my snippet cloth there, and now I'm just going to play. I'm just going to lay. This is quite an unusual shape, isn't it, this one? But it's not a problem because I could lay it like that, and so the snippet cloth would form part of the background of that, okay? But I would play with it because I don't want... It's getting the aesthetics right for you, for each individual. So I think perhaps that way, because if I do it in the wider section, it's going to be... I mean, I could cut that curve, but then that would waste. So why not just use it on the narrower section there, and then I can cut that round, but then I don't necessarily... So this is what you've got to do. This is me thinking out loud, and this is what you need to do as well. I don't necessarily want it to stop there. I'd quite like it to extend around there. So I'll move it round again. So I could cut it there. I could cut it there, and that would fill that space, but then I would have all this under here that wasn't serving any purpose. It would be kind of wasted. So maybe don't do that area. Maybe change the area on this that I'm focusing on. So perhaps there. That's probably going to work better. Okay, if I use this area, and if you notice, I'm overlapping. Okay, I want this to actually lay on the snippet cloth. I don't want to stitch this to the cloth underneath the snippets, because it gives it a weight, it gives it a body that's just so beautiful to handle, to have in your hand. So if I kind of look at that, and then I've got another piece here, where could this come in? So I could perhaps... What I'll do is I'll do this piece first. I'll pin this piece first, and then I'll play with the other piece. So I'm going to cut this cloth away from the outside of here, and this will demonstrate to you. I'm cutting right close to the edge, and in some cases I might actually cut through the edge just to give me a cleaner line. Okay, but this will demonstrate to you the low fray nature of this cloth. And if you've made it already and you've been playing with it, you might already be aware of that. You might already have cut into it. So if I cut it free from this base cloth there, move that base cloth over there, and then bring this back. Was it there? Let's say it was there. Okay, so I don't want to use this whole piece of snippet cloth, mainly because it's all I've got. You could have more than me, and you could possibly use all of yours. So if I pin that on there, because that'll allow me to play with this piece as well without losing the area for this, the placement of this. So if I just do this, like that. Okay, now let me look at this. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't think it matters if, say for example, could have these two pieces touching, couldn't I? So I wouldn't have to cut that up. So that's why it was a good thing to pin it first. But can you see, just by doing this, how this could really grow quite quickly into such a unique piece of cloth? So that's then pinned together now. I'll just move that out of the way. Excuse me. So that's, and I actually think that's really quite nice, although I would prefer it if I had something else down here. But that's me wanting to go square, where really it isn't necessary, is it? I don't know that this is... Maybe that needs to be cut round there. Perhaps if that wasn't on there, and that wasn't on there, and that flowed better round like that, but then I could make more snippet cloth and put it under here, and that would extend that, wouldn't it? But I'm just going to take this one off again and just play with it a little more. There's no time limit here, you know, there's no desperate need to have this a final decision on this. Just take your time and see how you feel. Now, I am always conscious of losing interest in areas, so I wouldn't want these to be completely concealed. That would spoil it for me. And I don't know if I want it like a really long linear thing. So personally, I'm going to leave it like that, okay? I'm not going to add this bit, but that doesn't mean that you can't. You've got to play and decide how many of these you want to join together, okay? It's going to be a personal aesthetic thing. What appeals to one person wouldn't necessarily be the choice the next person would make. I mean, I could do it, I could do that, but I just don't want to. It doesn't do it for me. So if I just join these and show you how I would join these, then you will know how to develop your own. So really, if I was in this class, if I wasn't leading this class, if I was a participant, I would go away and make more snippet cloth, okay? I would perhaps make more of this, give me more options for joining pieces together. So you could go away and make more of that, and then you could place this one here, perhaps, and you could have more snippet cloth down there. But you've got more options for playing and placement that way, haven't you? So we'll leave that there, and I've got that joined there, so I'm going to tack it together, just with this Gutterman thread. Put those pins away first. And get a needle. And I think you probably know what's coming. It's just going to be joined with buttonhole lace, but it's going to be joined with buttonhole lace because that's going to give me the effect I want, because I just love that effect now. It's become a bit of an addiction. I've talked today on my blog about my addiction to bullion knots, and buttonhole lace is another addiction. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because it doesn't mean I have to embellish in an obsessive way. I can embellish this any way I want after it's joined together. This is about joining it together. You could join it together with running stitches. You could join it together with bullion knots all around following the line. You could do it with French knots. You could make some little loops and join it together with running stitch, and then put little loops going from one half to the other. All these choices are yours to make. I'm just going to do the buttonhole lace because that's what I would do, but you've got all those other options, okay? So I'm just going to tack it together, big tacking stitches. I'm not going to stress about how big they are. In fact, the bigger the better, because then I'll be able to see them to pull them out. No knot in my thread, as usual. Don't put knot in my thread. Take that pin out. We've got the, if you're doing alchemy, you'll know that the council is digging up the road outside my house, and they've almost sent me insane today with the noise. So if you can hear any background noise, that's what it is, and I can't do anything about it. My windows are closed, and apart from that, aside from going out and assassinating each and every one of them, I can't do anything about it. So I do apologise if you can hear background noise of digging and building and workmen and such unpleasant things that have got no place in the world of embroidery. So I'm going to thread now with cotton abroad, and I'm going to put a knot in this, and just like I did with that white lace, I'm going to follow the line of this stitched piece that's on the top. Also make a decision about which piece you want at the top. I've put the paper and lace piece overlapping, so that's visible. Equally, you could have the snippet piece overlapping, so that was what was visible. So I'm just going to come up at the edge there, and I'm going to go through the top layer first, down through the snippet cloth, and make tiny buttonhole stitches all the way along here, following the contour of the line, which isn't a cut line, by the way, on the top piece. It's an organic line from what I did on the sewing machine. And bear in mind that it can get quite thick. It can be quite thick to stitch through these pieces, especially with a snippet cloth underneath. But just play about, test yourself with different needles. You might have to change your needle occasionally, and do that all the way along, following this line. I think I possibly need to change my needle now, it's not sharp enough. So I'll just try it with a different needle. The only thing with this one is it's very difficult to thread. It's got the tiniest eye in the history of the world. I'm not even joking. But success, happy days. Right, so I'll try it with this needle now. You do have to do that depending on how thick your cloth is, and that seems to be going through a lot easier, a lot more smoothly. I mean, I could do this till the cows came home. Somebody could, I mean, if I could have, but I need self-control as well. I was going to say, if I had a pile of this cloth with about 30 pieces in each file, you could lock me in a room and I would quite happily just sit and stitch them all together and embellish them whenever, as long as somebody poured me a cup of coffee every so often and put it through the hatch, I'd be happy as Larry. I could take vitamin pills so I wouldn't have to eat, and it would be heaven, truly. I could just lose myself in this all the time. And the other thing about the roadworks outside is my husband's on nights and he's trying to sleep up there, and I'm panicking in case they wake him up, so that's on my mind. So I haven't really been able to relax today. It's been a bit fraught for me, but I haven't heard him move, touch wood, so hopefully he's sleeping through it and is oblivious. It's very warm, so he's got a fan in the bedroom that cools the room, and that can be quite noisy, and he sleeps through that, so I'm hoping the noise of the fan is distracting from the noise of the men outside. So I'm just following this all the way around. My party was wonderful. If you're in Alchemy, you'll be sick of hearing about it. But it really was such a good day. It was terrible, terrible weather, really bad thunder, lightning, rain. But there was a marquee, so we were all in this marquee, bone dry. Wonderful food, good company. We had a blast. And then my kids went back down to London yesterday, because they both live in London now. And my husband's back at work on night shift, so he sleeps all day, he's at work all night. So I'm kind of on my holidays now, because there's just me and the workmen and the evening meal to cook when my husband gets up before he goes to work. So it's quite, it's my kind of ideal. Don't get me wrong, I don't want him to work 7 days a week, but I do like my own company. But I do prefer the peace and quiet. Do you know, I was saying, me and my mum and dad were saying, we were sitting in their garden a few weeks ago, can you see how that's forming a ridge and it's emphasising that line? And that's what I love about this. That's what gets me really excited about this. It's almost like an effortless seam, an effortless decorative seam. Me and my mum and dad were in their garden a few weeks ago, and they live in a very quiet area in a very quiet town, and everybody was banging outside, everybody was doing DIY, and I said, what is it? Every time the sun comes out, people start making noise. It's like a compulsion. There are no quiet corners of England anymore. This green and pleasant land is just a massive noise wherever you go. There just aren't any quiet corners. Can you hear that outside? That is so loud. Whatever they're doing. So we very rarely get any peace. Maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Maybe I should get up and do this at 2 o'clock in the morning. Right, so I'm almost round with the first run, and already I can see you must be able to hear that. Anyway, I can see that ridge there forming because of that buttonhole lace, giving it that definition. So I'm going to fasten it off at the back, and then I'm going to thread this through the back as well, this thread, so I haven't got any loose ends, through the back of this snipper cloth, and cut it off. And then I'm going to do another run of buttonhole stitch. Now in an ideal world, if this was a proper piece of work, if it wasn't just a sample, I would have heavily embellished all of this, and then I would have to then it would have been damp stretched before I did this, so it wouldn't need to be damp stretched now in an ideal world. But having said that, I could still probably damp stretch this using the holes from the sewing machine. Remember I spoke to you the other day about the lace and the holes that are there? Using the holes from the sewing machine to pin it out. So I could, you know, it's not completely impossible, so that's what I would do. But in an ideal world, it wouldn't need to be damp stretched because all the embroidery would have been completed and it would have been damp stretched, and all I would be doing would be joining it with buttonhole lace, and that wouldn't cause it to come to any harm in terms of requiring damp stretching. Okay, so I'm threading another needle now. I didn't have enough thread on that last needle to complete another row of buttonhole stitch on here. So I've got a blunt needle now, and I'm going to knot this cotton broader again, and I'm going to do another row of buttonhole stitch down here now. And if I could stop getting my thread in a knot, that would be a bonus. So I'll come up at the edge where I started, and in fact I can take that tacking out now as well while I remember, because it's secure now. So because I did them quite big, they're quite easy to see. It's not as difficult as it might have been, although having said that, I can't see the ones at the beginning, so I'll have a look at the back. There they are. Always remember you can go at the back to have a look as well. That's a good tip, because sometimes on the front with all the stitching that's going on you can't see. You'll notice I've got a glass of water today, not a cup of coffee. Just have a drink of water. Right, so now I'm going to do my second run. Into the loops of the first row. And that, trust me, please try this with yours, even if only in a small area, because you can't possibly get the full appreciation of how amazing this is unless you've got it in your hand. Okay, so stop going into a knot. So through the loops and all the way along. It's just, you must be sick of hearing me say this, but I'm running out of words to describe how I feel about this when I'm doing this. And I do honestly, so many people don't get it, you know, and I do honestly, well, don't feel sorry for them in a bad way, but I feel they're missing out on so much. But then I also feel that way about people who don't like football, soccer, because I absolutely get so passionate about soccer, and I think, how can you not like soccer? What is your life like if you're not a football fan? Come on. But then again, it's hard work being a football fan, especially if you support a team that never wins like I do. But the passion is unbelievable. But having said that, the passion for this is probably greater, I have to say. So I just feel so lucky that I can do this, you know. Anyway, so can you see now how it's building up? And I will take pictures, obviously, I'll have pictures. I don't want to pull in because it does blur. It's not as good quality if I pull in. So I'm nearly at the end, and this is as simple as it is. That's it, how you join it. And you could, so once you've got the groundwork done, you've got all your bits made, putting them together can take as long or as short as you want. You know, it depends on how you decide to embellish these seams. But if I had more pieces, I didn't spend my life going to parties, and I had more pieces, then, you know, in half an hour I would probably have a 2 foot by 2 foot piece of the most unique cloth that you really just couldn't buy. You just couldn't go out and buy this. Okay, so knot it off and thread it through again. so the tail isn't trailing, that's all. And there it is. I mean, that, it's just, it's almost, I don't know, it's almost like it's been ripped apart and repaired, okay, carefully and lovingly put back together. Hold it up to the camera and hopefully you'll see it there. Now I'm only going to do that, that's what I'm going to do with this. But the effect again is completely different. But within this as well, I'm going to add some lace trim to give it a layer of lace within the seam as well. So that's what I'm going to cover in the next video. Okay.